let's try that again. All right, welcome back to 9 to 5, everyone. Right now we have Donn with us. If you're wondering why we're wearing the same clothes, I just have two sets of clothing, and John is just a dirty kind of guy. So that explains the clothing. Anyways, yeah, again, we have Donn with us.
What's the matter with not showering for a few days? It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal if you're living in like a cold place, but in Singapore, it's a
little bit warm for that.
I stay indoors most of the time. Do you see my face right now, bro?
I think you're kind of tan. You're a little bit tanner than I'm kind of pale.
No, because like I walked out of the house and I immediately turned dark.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice. That's a good
I'm actually white.
Okay. Okay, anyways, let's get back to Donn.
Yeah, what's
got a bit
up?
sidetracked
Welcome.
there.
Thank you for having me.
So, Donn is a photographer, yeah?
Yeah. I do photography. I shoot weddings primarily, and I do a host of other things that people find really boring, but for some reason I find incredibly fascinating.
Like what other things?
I mean, I shoot things like film stills for, short films. I do, social events for big companies. And things like that, people find a little bit boring and stuff like that. But I mean, I like to work with people. I like to talk to them. I'm really talkative by nature. So I guess for me, any opportunity to kind of like pick new brains, I'm just really glad to be part of. Yeah.
Okay, let's pull that back a bit. How to start though? What made you get interested in all this? Was there like a defining point in your life that just turned you into photography? Or
I think actually, to be honest, it's a very practical reason why I became a photographer. So
pull the mic up closer a bit.
So as
right
a kid,
pull the sucker in.
As a kid, I was just really forgetful. I had really bad memory. So I found that to remember things better, it's a lot easier for me to remember things when I'm looking at pictures. And that's how it started. So I began to look at other people's pictures and kind of imagine what they were thinking, or where they were when they created them, and slowly that became something that I wanted to do. Like I want to take a photo that can tell a story of a particular place or a particular time, or of a person's feelings and things like that lah. So it's a very broad topic, it's very flimsy. You don't really get a chance to really there's nothing hard and fast about photography. Yeah, and some people get it, some people don't, but I think at the end of the day that's the best of it.
Not a lot of people like it hard and fast.
Okay, bro. You're just driving us off the rails today.
He's putting us in a different track, in a different motion.
Track, bro.
It was just there, man.
I mean,
there.
I felt like a sucker, right?
I had to do it, man.
Yeah, he gave you the layup. Yeah, go for the dunk.
Go for the dunk.
Put it in, bro.
Okay, but how old were you when you decided, maybe let's do this. Let's do this photography thing.
Yeah. I was really young. I guess I was 13 when I first started.
Damn.
Yeah, I was about 13. Yeah, so I just really played around with anything I can get my hands on. I started shooting film first, and progressively just started doing more and more work that that paid a little bit better slowly through the years, and then after a while I realized that actually I can survive on this, and it's not really a job for me, because day in, day out, I'm doing what I love. I talk to people, I talk shit to people, and it's fun for me. At the end of the day, some people come and tell me like, there's a moment that there's this moment in something that you've captured for me, and in many years later it made sense to me, and this photo became really, really important, and in a sense that's what I live for. Being able to create photos for others the way I want people to create photos for me.
So you started getting into it when you were 13 years old?
Yeah, I was really young. Yeah.
As a hobby at first?
Yeah, I was just that kid that, I just looked at people playing block catching, and I was like,
I don't want to be.
Why do you do it? Okay. Well, it is fun, but I just felt that there was more to it than that. Like, there's just so much more to it than that. So I took a camera and I would just explore my neighborhood, and I have two other buddies that I do that with, Robin and Jack. And
Robin, who is behind the camera.
Yeah.
Turn the camera around, Robin. Let's take a look at
The round Robin? Sorry.
I wouldn't say that.
but yes.
Come on, man.
Well, you laid it out there.
We're doing that now. Okay.
So, we would meet at 11 p.m. and we would just spend 4-5 hours just either walking around the neighborhood, just finding things that caught our eye, and just talking about what goes on in our daily lives, and in the end that became a staple. That became something that we did, and that's how we all started doing photos and videos.
Oh wow, that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So it's like when you watch movies and there's always a trio that does adventure stuff. Mess around the neighborhood, and that's kind of like how we were.
Yeah.
And I guess even till now, we've stuck to it with each other like just like blue tag.
So all three of yours are now into photography or videography?
So for myself, I do wedding photography primarily. For Robin, she does more commercial side photo and video.
Yeah.
And for Jack does wedding videography, and also like a smattering of photo and video jobs on the side as well. So at the end of the day, we all kind of like filtered into our own individual subcategories.
Yeah.
But we're all doing essentially the same thing. Yeah.
So how old were you when you consider yourself like when you turned pro?
Wow.
Let's put it that way.
Even until now, I don't think I turned pro.
Oh, is it? But I mean,
Let's rephrase the question. Wait, okay.
Yeah.
You were doing this as a hobby at first, right?
Yeah.
Shooting friends, stuff like that.
Yeah.
When was your first paycheck?
yeah.
Oh, when was my first paycheck? I think I was
Yeah.
16. Yeah.
Damn.
It's like
Damn.
$50.
Hey,
Yeah, I
that was
remember,
some paycheck.
an entire blue note. Then it's like, wow. Fuck, man.
Hey.
I'm going for like a big steak dinner
Yeah,
after this.
yeah.
It's like, just going to order everything on like
I'm
the
gonna have
menu.
steak
but
with this.
Yeah, I'm going to have steak with this.
Yeah.
I'm going to Tony Roma's and I'm sitting at the big boy table.
Big boy table. Give me a
and
beer.
that's,
Oh wait, I'm underage.
That too, lah. I mean,
yeah.
but
Well, the beer was at home because that's the only place we can drink when we're under 18.
Oh.
You know.
Not really true, but okay. It's
But
fine.
yeah,
let's move on from
let's just
there.
let's leave it at that.
Oh, okay. You don't
No,
want
but
me.
so that's when I kind of like started getting paid for my jobs, and I started shooting a bunch of things. But I've always been very, very stubborn in the fact that if I don't like to shoot this thing, I told myself that no matter how much I needed the money, I would just never do it.
Tough. That is tough.
Right.
But it
living,
was
man.
tough because
Yeah.
when you're pressed for cash
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you need money,
You do a lot. Of
you do a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
told
you will.
myself that in the long run, it's gonna help to be kind to yourself, in the sense that you pick and choose things
Yeah.
that will feed you the right way, like in terms of like your motivation
Yeah.
moving on. So that's a bit of how it was back then. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But that also kind of filters into how you get recognized in the world of photography,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you're doing
yeah.
any fucking Tom, Dick, and Harry job, people think that you have no, you have no specialty. Like you're not really that great at anything.
yeah,
so.
precisely. But I think the most important thing is like people will always say things like clients will always say we've seen millions of photographers out there. So what makes you different?
Okay.
Then that's a question that we get a lot, right? But
Yeah.
in essence, right, asking me that question, right, what makes me different, can be applied to any photographer that exists in this world. In a sense, like what makes me different is not whether I'm better or I'm worse, but just that the way I see things is unable to be replicated by somebody else.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So someone else might see it in a way that I love, but
Yeah.
some people can't really connect to it. And I think that's the biggest draw about photography.
Yeah.
That whole, yeah.
So what's your favorite thing to shoot, man?
What's my favorite thing to shoot? Whatever pays. Okay. So I already told myself that I wouldn't go down that track. But no, yeah. So I like to tell stories that are intricate. I like to tell stories that have layers and nuances that you can explore visually. Yeah. So in essence, things like like a mom and pop kind of store. With like really old owners,
Oh, okay.
things like that. Or that particular bread shop that has been there for like decades, and
Yeah.
you've loved since you were a kid. That kind of thing, and being able to connect with the people, being able to tell their story in a way that they may not even see themselves that way, and you are able to just slowly just pry that story out, flesh it out, and build something meaty and something that they appreciate. And
So
I
what
think
was the
that's
most recent one that you did? That
um
one recently?
recently I've really been swamped with work, so I haven't been able to get a chance to do that. But one thing that I explored recently was I like shooting night scenes. So night scenes are reflective of how I feel at that point of time. So when I first moved out of my home to stay on my own, I stayed in Tiong Bahru, and I felt a sense of this profound sense of loneliness that we get from the whole idea of growing up and being on your own and left your own devices. I wanted to capture that in the night scenes that I saw in and around Tiong Bahru, and that became something that I really enjoyed, just roaming and finding little things that resonated with me visually. Yeah, and I think that was something that I really enjoyed as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how do you get into wedding photography though?
Oh, wedding photography. I used to swear that I would never be a wedding photographer when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I started doing gigs. And I loved gigs. But more than anything else, I remember when I was a kid, right? I would used to go to this particular magazine shop near Kovan. Used to be somebody's house or something like that, and they sell secondhand magazines. And I would see this old Treasure magazines, the old issues of Treasure, and I would see people photograph skateboarding in a way that is so such a huge draw. I was so excited, and I was so disappointed when I found out that that same level of I couldn't do the same thing lah. Yeah, so I thought what's the next best thing? Let me just watch that concert for free, and shoot concerts and stuff like that.
Right.
So that was how I started. Then I happened to chance upon wedding photography by a particular photographer who describes himself as the fact that he's not a wedding photographer, but he's a photographer that just happens to shoot weddings. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's cool. That's a cool way of looking at it. And at the end of the day, his photos gravitated to me because...
Who was this?
So his name is Yusin,
inspiration?
and he's actually now my boss.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, he's my boss and my mentor lah. He's always been looking out for me all this time, and that has always been something that I've been very, very grateful for. So I was very lucky to be able to work under him and to be able to learn under him, and this just slowly became like he taught me so much. He would sit me down for hours on end, going through like 4,000 images, just to tell me what I could have been, what I could have done better, and how I can bring myself up another level, because he knows I mean, we all are our biggest critics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure you're really harsh yourself, and you too, right?
Yeah.
Not really, no.
No, I mean,
I try to give myself a pass any day I can.
Well,
I
thanks for
didn't
that.
fold the sheets today. Yeah, you could do it tomorrow.
No, but I do get it. Like when you're working on a craft, like you are,
yeah.
like because you
For
want to
sure.
perfect every
Yeah.
single aspect.
Yeah,
of the
definitely,
craft. That's why you are
definitely.
very
Yeah.
critical of
Yeah.
yourself. But sometimes that is a detriment to you.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, we killed the phone message
Oh,
prompts.
sorry.
Man.
Let me do
God
this.
damn it. You're fucking with
just-
my system right now, bro.
I'm just a very noisy person.
Yeah.
On,
In general, right?
That's why I have my phone also.
I think he's the least noisiest among the three of us. I'm pretty sure.
No, the thing is, like, my wife, right, she always tells me I talk too much. Like, when we went in Japan, no, I talk too loudly. When we went in Japan, the subways are completely
Yeah, I
quiet.
bet you. I bet
I'm the only one. Everyone can hear my voice. I'm whispering, and my voice
No,
was
you're
echoing.
whispering.
Was
You
it like an
think you're
angry
whispering.
whisper?
No, I was just whispering. I was just like talking to this level,
Yeah,
this
but-
level,
but it was-
and everyone could hear me because it was
Yeah.
so quiet, and it just blew my mind.
But
Because
that's the thing, though. Like, if it's a quiet space, your whisper becomes a fucking normal
Yeah.
voice speech.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Especially in the subway where it's like echoing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so carry on with
Before we
your.
were rudely interrupted by the phone beep.
Don't put it like that.
No, it's just yeah. So I mean, like what I said before, I was just really lucky to be in the right place and the right time, and I've always felt that one of my biggest flaws is the fact that I haven't been properly introduced to failure, in the sense that like I've always been a very calculated risk taker, so my calculated risk usually pays off. And that also means that I'm very, very worried to fail. I'm very, very scared to fail. And yeah, that's something that I've been trying to fight my whole life, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, that becomes a lesson in itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
In a
It
sense.
is.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Like-
you work under him, but you're technically still freelance, right?
In a sense, we're like a collective of four. So we come together, we market ourselves as a collective.
Yeah.
But we largely operate on our own.
As
Yeah,
individuals.
and yeah, we have a certain like a set of framework that kind of helps us. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
Nice
no
to be
worries.
there.
Yeah.
Where's the water?
We
A
are
lot of
all
water.
pretty gassy.
Yeah, and it's
Just
we
have
have a,
food,
we have a set
man.
of frameworks that kind of like helps us determine who gets the jobs and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So we usually just leave it up to the clients, and we do quite okay for ourselves as well. So I'm thankful for that. So
Nice. So how the thing I realized about like freelance jobs is the amount of free time you get because of it.
This is very dangerous.
So my question to you is, how do you spend your free time though?
Very slow.
So I'm a person with very weird habits. And like not just habits, but like
What kind of weird stuff are you
like
into? Come on, let's
I very
dig
weird
into
hobbies.
this.
You know, like
What?
I very weird hobbies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know. So I'm actually trying to start a new like a little custom bag. You know. Yeah. So I'm very drawn to, as you can see in the background, I have a ton of like, you know, nonsense at the back, and I'm just really drawn to very utilitarian style bags that I just meet really
Okay.
well.
Is this
Okay.
focused on any specific job type, like, or is it just for anyone?
I think, to be honest, it's just you know, creatives in general. You know, it can be video editors, it can be like musicians like yourself, or you know,
Okay.
even skaters.
Right.
You know, and like for my end, photographers, videographers, so people who just need solid, sturdy items that won't fail them when they need it, lah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you-
so I'm kind of
this-
like exploring doing custom stuff, learning a little bit, and trying to start something for people who with like, you know, Chinese like say very niao.
okay.
Yeah, like very distinct tastes,
Yeah.
and like they want things done a certain way, they want things custom, and yeah, photographers are quite suckers to like we all are suckers, like we pay for bags like
Yeah.
whatever the price. So at the end of the day, you know, if you take a little bit of effort to make sure that it's tailored specifically for the individual, I think it's something worthwhile, lah, you know.
Yeah.
Because I'm that niao person.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays, I think people are getting more interested in something that is unique to them.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
they
The
want something
craftsman, right?
catered.
Yeah.
to
The
draw of the
you know,
craftsman.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because everything
Yeah.
is so like mass produced nowadays. So like
yeah.
when you have something that's
Yeah.
individually handmade,
Yeah,
Yeah,
precisely.
you know,
yeah.
you look at the guys, you look at the product and you can see the guys' years of technique of like carving things.
Yeah, or even
you know.
something very, very simple like just like initial engravings.
Yeah.
Something that, you know, oh, that's mine. You know
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
fact that's yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even things like that, I think that's the draw.
I see.
So yeah, that's So I do a bunch of stuff. I do that, and I disturb the rest of my housemates,
Oh yeah.
and I irritate them when I play a lot of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do.
I see you all have a Nintendo Switch there.
Oh, we
I
have
mean,
a couple of Nintendo Switches.
I mean, you could easily lose your life
Yeah,
to
dude.
Skyrim on that, honestly.
That's why I'm not buying Skyrim just yet.
Oh, just
I'm
yet.
worried,
Oh
yes.
my goodness.
Yeah, we're already like addicted
It's
to
gonna
Fortnite, so
happen.
that's a problem.
It's
Oh, yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
You're
you,
gonna
will,
get
it will.
Skyrim,
you should just try it out, man. Because like,
and we're not gonna hear from you for like 500 years or
I'm
something.
just really glad that you got me to do this before I bought Skyrim.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big plus.
that's
Yeah.
true. Or else you wouldn't be here. you
Yeah,
know?
I wouldn't
No,
be here.
actually, he'd still be here. He'd just be talking about all the levels he got from fucking
Yo, but
playing
we could
Skyrim.
talk about Skyrim for
For
hours.
days.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that game is so random.
Yeah,
it's
it's so
ridiculous.
intricate. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
And the fact that you can play it on a handheld device when you had to
But
switch.
makes
Yeah.
you think how far we've gone with technology as well.
Yes.
Like, you know,
Yes.
Yeah.
like we're always so amazed whenever we play our Switches, because essentially it's a handheld console, but it has the power to drive, you know, games like a traditional console,
Yeah.
and you know, it's just this very wonderful in between that you.
So both of y'all play quite a lot of video games, right?
Yeah, we do.
Let me ask you, what do y'all think about VR and its future? Why don't you go first, John?
Okay. Personally, for me, I think VR is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's just that a lot of the shit that you're seeing with VR right now is fucking garbage, dude. It's
Is
just
it?
a fucking gimmick, dude. Like, there's a few gems out there. Like, I can't really remember the names of the games that
Hold
I'm
on,
talking
have you
about.
tried any of the games before? Or any of the headsets?
I've only tried the Sony one, the Sony VR one for the PlayStation. So
Okay.
yeah, so there was a game that came out recently. It was a shooting game. It was a hack and slash game.
Yeah.
Okay.
First person hack and slash. It's basically like Skyrim except you're fucking playing VR, right? And the mechanics for it was actually pretty good, like hit detection, all of that stuff, great. But the thing is, it's like that's one out of like a fuck ton of shitty VR games that you're getting out right now. So it's like, and VR is expensive in general.
Let me
right
ask.
now.
Let me ask you. Do you
So-
think it looks promising though?
It does. It does
right?
look promising.
Does it look like immersive enough?
I'd say so. If you do it right.
Yeah.
If you do it right, it can be pretty fucking immersive. I just think that right now, if you're someone who's considering like buying VR, I honestly, personally would not recommend it, unless you have a fuck ton of cash on you. In which case, get me one too.
We can share one.
Yeah, I tell you what, I
Yeah,
don't
we'll
have enough to
we'll
share.
take one.
Okay, what about you, Don? What do you think about VR gaming?
I think that for I mean I really agree. I think that for VR to hit that level that we would really enjoy that immersive experience, there needs to be a lot of catching up technologically. I think that what we're playing now is just the surface.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really
It's
really
like a
just
lot
the
of
surface.
tech demos right now.
And it's gonna take a lot of years, a lot of effort, and a lot of R&D to
Yeah.
reach that level where it would be almost like how we would play our current consoles.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
obviously I'm aware of the there's obviously a few styles of VR. So there's this one group of people who are doing VR in an amazing way to where they're basically suiting you up, right?
Oh,
they're putting
wow.
you in like it's like a gyroscope kind of thing.
Yeah,
Have you seen
I've
that,
seen
right? You've
videos
seen
of
that
that.
shit, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're essentially putting your whole body into this video game to where you can move like
The shit's
exactly the
crazy though.
same way that
Yeah.
you'd move.
Yeah, this shit's crazy.
The thing is, if we can get to that point without all the gear being fucking expensive and cumbersome for the average Joe,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a good
It's
fucking place to be in, bro.
It's a bit like the movie Ready Player One. Have
Yeah.
you guys watched it?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, I've seen that. movie. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is
yeah.
awesome.
See, that's
The little
my,
Yeah,
Easter
yeah.
eggs, right? For the 90s kids
Yeah.
for
and
sure,
the
for
80s
sure.
kids.
But
yeah.
that's-
But like my friend would so hate that we're talking about this right now
Why?
because he read the book. And you know the thing about people
Yeah,
who
yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah,
read
yeah,
books,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
They're like, they didn't add this part.
Yeah, it's not
They
good as a
changed
book.
this part. I can't believe they did this to my character. I'm like, bro, it's
Whatever,
a fucking
man.
movie, man.
Whatever, man.
Deal with it, bro.
Yeah.
It's still a good movie.
See, but that's my impression of where VR should be.
Should be heading,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
But
honestly.
like what you said also, I think that's a very dangerous, it's a very slippery slope where we're heading.
yeah.
Because if you watch the movie, you'll know that that whole immersive experience becomes so immersive that the world stops solving its own problems
yeah.
and they just exist in
virtual reality.
in virtual reality.
They just it's
Yeah.
escapism
Yeah,
in
it
another
is.
level.
It is. Yeah,
I mean,
on a
You
whole
know?
new level.
Yeah, it's a whole new level.
Is that common thought experiment? Right? If you could take a pill that would bring you and your consciousness to like a perfect area
Yeah.
where you always experience like very positive conscious
Yeah,
experiences,
yeah,
would you
yeah.
take that pill? I mean, you would. What?
I
And
would,
VR
yeah,
is
I
kind of
would
like that.
definitely. Yeah,
you know?
What
yeah,
percentage
yeah.
of people will fucking
Yeah.
take the
Yeah,
pill?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know I would.
I would probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
I
probably.
wouldn't just because I'm a fucking masochist.
But I mean, if you could be anything you want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then I could be double the masochist.
Yeah. you could have positive.
That's
you could have
true. I
plenty
could have
of
all the
what you
negatives.
perceive as positive experiences.
I could have all the negatives multiplied.
Yeah,
I like that,
if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
But I mean, shit, man. I think if you do that, you're losing the game, man.
Whatever,
You're losing
dude.
yourself,
I lost the
though.
game when I lost the game, dude.
But yeah, for sure, VR. I think that'll be a huge next step. That'll be a huge next step. I'm quite excited for that. Okay, but let's get back to
Yeah, let's get
photography.
back
That was
to
a huge.
photography. That was a huge,
That was a
fucking
huge
segue,
deviation.
bro.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just very curious about VR because I've never tried a good headset before. I've only tried
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shitty ones
yeah.
like the Google Cardboard. kind of
Oh
thing.
shit!
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you put your phone on.
Yeah, the one you put your phone on. It's
Oh
not that
god.
great.
Yeah.
You know, it's not.
It's not. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's
I
not.
mean, it's pretty cool, but it's
Yeah.
like it's not that great. You just
Yeah,
look
yeah.
around. And it's like,
Yeah.
there's a shark there. Cool, fine. You know, that's it. That's it. But yeah, let's get back to photography.
Okay.
Okay, so how many wedding shoots would you have said? Would you say that you've done already by now, since you started doing this when you were 16? You started doing this professionally at 16, and you were beginning with
I think I
wedding
started
shoots.
doing this professionally only 3 to 4 years ago.
Okay,
For weddings specifically.
weddings.
Yeah. So probably maybe I would say ballpark number would be about 100, 110, 20 around there. 120.
and what's the
weddings.
most difficult thing you would say doing wedding shoots is?
You see everything. You will see relationships between people. We as a wedding photographer, I always tell my clients, I can't create something that's not there. I'm merely a magnifying glass. So I magnify what's already there. So if you're not on good terms with your parents, it's gonna show. It's definitely gonna show.
Right.
If you're not on good terms with a friend, or this is a revenge kind of like an invitation to the wedding, it's gonna show. Or if you aren't in love with your other half, it will show.
Damn, that's tough.
Yeah, so when as a wedding photographer, you see all facets. You've seen love in its purest form. You've seen love in its most fucked up form.
Yeah, like
and
marrying for money and that kind of thing.
And you've seen weddings where you get the most luxurious wedding, the most hyped up wedding.
And then the groom
But
fucking
you
runs away.
realize, no, I mean, well, I hope not, because mine is tied to
Hasn't
that
happened
shit,
for you,
no?
right? Hasn't happened for you yet?
No,
Okay.
that hasn't,
Oh,
unfortunately,
we gotta wait for
no,
that.
fortunately, fortunately, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, you don't want to be in that position.
You want, it's a little bit
Choose
tough
our words
to navigate.
perfectly right
So who do I send my invoice to?
Hey, but the funny thing was, right, I had an inquiry for a client who said that, in the event that they separate, can they put a clause in the contract that says that in the event that they separate, they will not be they will not be liable to any cost of the wedding. Yeah.
Did
So
you tell
that
them
was,
fuck you?
I just told them that I don't think anyone else will do that for you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
what? What? No, look,
so you
you
get things
fucking
like
let
that,
me
so.
let me take photos of your wedding. If you end up not being together after this, I still want my money, bitch.
I mean, yeah.
I still want my money.
Yeah, I mean, it's a job for us. We got to make sure that we feed ourselves as well.
Yeah, you get paid.
We need to get paid.
You gotta
Yeah.
get paid.
Sure, dude.
I'm pretty sure you guys, if you've done jobs like that are a little bit more on the freelance level, it's tough because you never know where the job's coming from, and you never know how you may be doing well like now, but you don't know how things will be 3 months from now.
Oh yeah, that's the scariest thing.
Yeah,
about
that's the thing,
freelancing.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on that note, since you're working with a group of people, right?
Yep.
So how do the jobs come in? So they come in through the group itself, and then you kind of delegate it to a person, or what is that?
In a sense, we are a company, so
Uh-huh.
the jobs comes in through our info, our info email. So
Right.
it's a shared email, and when we receive the bookings, like when we receive the inquiries, we have a standard email. It's like a standard thing, like a few things that we would share with our clients. So to let them know that it's a team of 4, and this is the links to individual portfolios,
Right.
and they will choose us based on what they think they can gravitate to lah.
So the four of you have very distinct
In a sense,
styles.
we are pretty much we pretty much have the same influences.
Okay.
We grew up looking at Magnum photographers and stuff like that. Very documentary work, very documentary based wedding photography, but how we interpret that is very different.
Right.
Like for Yusin, who's my boss, he shoots in a very like a very nice mix between emotional wedding photography and documentary, and he does this really, really well. And I have another colleague who's Daryl. He shoots in a very bright style that suits energetic weddings, and that caters to another side of people. And for me, because I'm actually doing my BFA, so I'm more of a fine art photographer in learning, if that's the right way to put it.
So you're doing a BFA in photography.
Yes.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Cool.
I mix fine art elements with documentary like roots, and that kind of becomes how I shoot my weddings.
Wait, so let me
Interesting.
get this straight. That means it still falls to the client who that person
Yeah,
picks.
definitely. Yeah.
Wow.
Because at the end of the day, we're not the kind that if you pay a certain price, we just send anyone who's available.
Right.
We want you to be able to choose who you like. I mean, if you want to put it cheesily, who your heart gravitates to visually,
Right.
and how you find that this photographer suits your wedding day, and how you want your story to be told.
Yeah.
So I think, in a way, that's how we separate our clients and our jobs and stuff like that.
Yeah, I have noticed that about photographers. I've done a few like band photo shoots, and of course I did my wedding photo shoot.
Yeah,
but
definitely. Yeah.
I have noticed that it seems like different photographers have very, very different styles.
Yeah.
But how do you all develop those distinct styles that you each have?
I think much of it that's a tough one though.
Uh-huh.
Much of it has to do with, I think how we live our lives on a day-to-day basis.
I see.
I think how I shoot my weddings is how I shoot everyday life. Like, if I see Robin eating lunch here, or Robin's taking a particular tough call on the phone and she's just sitting there, and like, and how I photograph these moments and how I photograph like, traditional wedding setups like, the jing cha and stuff like that. Yeah, it's the same way. I see how I see my everyday and how I see weddings, and how I shoot them. It's essentially the same thing.
Okay.
So it's a lot to do with being honest with your vision. You don't try to add layers of fluff to mask the message. You just say it like it is.
Right.
And good work doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah.
It can be simple.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person that I want my photos to be understood by people like my grandma.
So essentially, you just do it in a way that you like.
Yeah, essentially, that's honest to me. Yeah.
I get what you mean.
That's honest work, but obviously, let's not lie to ourselves. There's a bunch of photographers out there who just fucking do the usual. They have a script basically, right? Like every wedding, they'll shoot it exactly the same way.
Yeah,
right?
I have met a few of those photographers before as well, and that's why I'm so surprised.
I have harsh words for you, but I'm not gonna say it.
You say it's met them, not worked with them.
Yeah, met them. Not worked with them. Met them. Yeah, it's just that
No, not you. I mean, I'm saying I got harsh words for those type of photographers.
Okay.
No, I'm not gonna say it.
They're just trying to make a living. I mean, it's cool. It's cool.
I'm still gonna have harsh words for you, bro.
But
you
it
have
is
words for me though, right?
Yeah, of course. Nothing but kind words.
Nice.
But it is quite surprising how distinctly different they are. Like our friend Derek.
Yeah.
His photos are very his style.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize like you could do that with photography until like I started talking to Derek and I saw his pictures and I was like, this is very you.
Yeah.
This is like perfect description of like how you see the world.
If I was fucking with Derek, I'd say your shit is oversaturated.
Oh.
But I'm just fucking.
Whoa!
No comment.
I am so sorry, Derek.
I'm staying out of this. I think your pictures are awesome, bro.
I think we should invite Derek.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, we should invite Derek.
You don't want to invite Derek too soon, man.
I did a podcast with John once, but it was just an audio podcast, and then Derek just showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Out of nowhere, like
wow.
and then he just like brought it off the rails, man.
Just
Derek
brought it
is just
off
the
the
kind of
rails,
guy.
Oh wow. Okay.
I couldn't even talk about what I wanted to talk about. Motherfucker stole my limelight, bro.
To be fair,
That's a tough one though.
Yeah. No, but I love the guy.
Yeah,
I just want to give him some shit.
yeah, and to be fair, Derek is just a hilarious person when he wants to be, and that's why like he just like throws things off the rails,
Yeah, but as long as you are not any type of Daryl Aiden fucker, right?
A what?
Oh.
That Daryl Aiden dude.
Yeah.
Oh.
What the fuck?
The guy that stole all the pictures,
dude.
right? All right, Don. So what's your opinion
what's
on
your
that,
take
man?
on
Like
that?
since you are
What's your
working in the
take on
same
that? 'Cause
field.
it's a very
Okay.
recent thing.
I'm really excited to talk about this because
Yeah.
when the news broke,
Let's
when the news
do
broke, right? It was a
it.
morning. It was like I think it was 10. Just woke up. I saw the mothership article, and I told myself that day, I am canceling all my appointments. I'm staying in bed. I am gonna order some Thai food, and I'm gonna read this thing to the end.
Oh damn, you're dead
gonna
into
watch
it.
this.
Of course. What you talking about? This is my industry. So I just went all out, and I was so entertained.
Yeah.
I was so entertained. Like it's to this point now where it's past, it's past like the feeling of what the fuck, It's just like it's fucking hilarious.
And that affects you, like that hits you personally because that's your livelihood, and he was just fucking with it, right?
So in a sense, right, like he would say things like, he would steal a stock photo, and he would say things like, "We waited hours for this."
Oh
Like,
yeah.
dude,
that was,
we
like,
waited
fucked
hours
up,
for
dude,
this so that we could take this photo and sell it on the stock site that you stole from. Yeah, I mean, so in essence, the effort was just taken. It was just belittled. So in a sense, photographers, they always say this thing about photographers, like, you just pressing a button, you're just taking that photo.
Right.
But I think how we create an image is so much more than just that.
Yeah.
It couldn't be further from the truth.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, that's the thing about people that don't understand craft. They will say this kind of shit. They think you just press some buttons or like.
It's like, you're telling like a leather craftsman that, hey, you just made a bag, right? It's just a bag,
yeah. But
he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
and he took years or decades
Precisely.
to
Like
get
probably
down his
learned from
technique.
his dad, you know,
Yeah.
and hone that craft, you know, learning how to cut it, learning how to minimize wastage, things like that. You
Yeah,
know?
you know, it's
Yeah.
ridiculously difficult to get down like complex physical movements. You know, so
Yeah.
like for like those guys that do like woodworking, it
Yeah,
blows my
yeah. Or like, you know,
mind.
Yeah,
like furniture work, like
Yeah.
heavy duty work,
Yeah.
woodwork.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
think about those stonemasons where they craft like gargoyles out of a block of stone. Jesus Christ,
Yeah,
man!
How
No,
long
thank
is it
you.
gonna take that motherfucker?
And the fact that it looks like a real, like,
Yeah.
like it looks real, you know,
Yeah.
like holy
And
shit.
apprenticeships for them isn't like a short span of time. You're an apprentice for a
Yeah.
fucking long time.
Like
Yeah.
upwards of like 10 to
Yeah,
15 years.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I actually
Till-
saw a documentary on like this stonemasons and this apprentice was doing it. Yeah, it's literally decades. You
Oh,
become
wow.
Yeah, man.
you are an apprentice for like at least a decade
Yep.
before you are your own stonemason. You know.
And usually by then you're like, I think at least 60, 60 years old.
Mhm.
Around that age, it's not like, you know, in our context, you are an executive by, you know, somewhat like mid-30s.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
you don't put in the dues.
yeah.
And you know, arguably you don't experience as much lah.
Yeah, see,
You know,
this is
yeah.
why I love talking to craftsmen and like guys like like sommeliers.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like then you understand the hard work it takes to become this expert in something.
Precisely,
Mhm.
yeah.
And like
yeah.
the journey is really an uphill
Yeah.
battle, not just physically but
Yeah.
mentally. You're always thinking, is this gonna work out? You know, because like let's be honest, the thing that we're doing here, freelancing, it is
Yeah.
fucking scary in
Yeah,
Singapore.
that's why.
You don't
You
know
know?
if you're going to be rewarded for all that hard work. And
So,
all
Yeah.
that.
so for most people, right, they can get to, you know, 80% of a professional.
Mhm.
They can, you know, if you're just learning on your own, you can probably get to about, you know, 75 to 80% of a professional.
Yeah.
But it's then every percentage point that you do is like very, very small nuances that will separate, you know,
From
that
the
will
rest.
sieve
Yep.
out the
Yep.
really, really good ones
Yeah.
from the mediocre ones.
And the thing you notice is like the moment you getting to 80%, it
It's-
takes maybe like 10 years.
Yeah.
But getting from 80% to 100,
It takes,
that's
you
a
know,
long
20, 30
time.
to
Yeah.
the rest
Yeah.
of your life.
Yeah, that's a long
yeah.
time. The hard part is at the end,
Yeah.
man. The
Yeah.
hard part is
Yeah.
at the
For
end.
sure. You think you're done? No, you're not done.
Yeah.
Bro.
Oh,
Like
You
the-
gotta
there's-
constantly fucking, recreate
Yeah.
yourself because
Yeah.
it's an industry where you have to constantly evolve, man.
There's a thing like that a lot of craftsmen say is like it's just one of those things, whatever craft it may be, like the more you know about the craft,
Mhm.
the more you realize you don't know shit about the craft.
Yeah,
exactly,
you know?
exactly, yeah.
You realize like you are just
Yeah,
an
yeah.
imbecile and you're
Yeah,
just trying
yeah.
to like, you know,
a drop in
plot-
the ocean. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
It's crazy.
And
It's
Daryl
insane,
Aiden
yeah.
just fucking shat on all you guys.
Yeah.
No, and you know
Fucker.
what's the saddest part? He actually has quite a good rep before this all went down.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't a shit talker. He kept to himself mostly, but he has a good
didn't
rep
want anyone
mostly.
finding out, bro.
Yeah, but you know this was always gonna blow over.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's just a
for
matter of
sure.
time. So, you know, I think one of the things that really that I felt he really shat on was when he took these photos, and if he used them for social media, he could still argue that you know, these images are like I credited them
Yeah.
properly, like, you know,
But he
for
didn't
social
even
media.
credit them, and he got paid fucking using it.
And not just that, he used those images for his portfolio.
Yeah, that
That
is
is
fucked
messed
up.
up.
That is fucked
That
up.
is messed up. You know,
Yeah.
essentially that's just stealing.
Yeah, that is stealing.
That is stealing. Yeah. So you're telling me someone that you know, like I'm proud of everything that I put up on my portfolio because
Yeah.
I know that I created them from scratch.
Yeah.
And now you're shitting on it by telling me that you can just take any rando photo
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the web and that becomes your portfolio.
Yeah.
So
It's
what's that all
cheapening the
about?
craft,
Yeah,
man.
So
It really is cheapening
yeah,
it.
yeah. You know, and it's crazy. You know, I'm pretty sure he gets paid to fly to these countries to take those photos.
Yeah, for sure.
So why is
Yeah.
there a need to Photoshop them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend
Oh
who told
my
me
goodness.
something that he had to take a photo at Gilman Barracks
Okay.
to take a photo there,
Yeah.
but he didn't. So he photoshopped himself into a Gilman Barrack photo. So I'm like, dude, you know how long it will take you to just take a cab down to Gilman and then just take a photo?
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
It's
is
like
that really difficult?
it's like a day.
To be honest,
Yeah,
I don't
I
think I don't think it'll take a day.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't have taken
Right.
a day. No.
Yeah, that's
Could have
fucked
just
up.
gone there.
That's just
taken a photo. Man,
bullshit,
you could have
yeah.
fucking done the actual job and still have had the rest of the day, man, for
Yeah,
yourself.
precisely.
Fucking
Yeah.
asshole. Hey, but that fucking ad Scoot put out,
Oh, I saw that. I
Wow.
saw that.
That
Oh,
was
yeah.
fucking beautiful,
Yeah.
dude.
Dude, I was actually looking out for IKEA.
Oh, yeah?
Because
Yeah,
IKEA
I
does
thought
this shit
IKEA,
well.
yeah, I
I thought
thought-
IKEA would do it. I would do it. But I was
Yeah,
like,
but
oh
then
no,
screw
it's
it
alright.
up.
We've got
And it
Scoot.
worked.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was
Yeah.
like fucking perfect.
Yeah. And it was fast too.
Yeah,
It was like the same day, right?
Yeah.
Does this happen very often in like the photography world
What, when people lie? And
when people like steal shit, you know?
I mean, from time to time, yes. I've seen photographers who very obviously stole images from like, you know, prominent wedding photographers all over the world.
But
Yeah.
at least for them, they usually don't go to the point where they're fucking making money out of it.
But they do though.
Do they? I think they
They
do.
do,
I mean, why?
They
Why
do?
would you?
They do.
Yeah, why would you steal it if you're not
Yeah.
gonna make money from it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, true.
Because the thing is, like, theft when it comes to art happens all the time. I mean, like recently, Ed Sheeran just got sued for.
Wow, that's news to my
Yeah,
ears.
he just
Whoa, whoa.
yeah he just got sued for stealing, you know, Marvin Gaye's "Let's Get It On."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, this is something because I've played both songs live before, and I've known for a long time both songs have
Very similar.
the exact same chord progression during the chorus, and it's only a chorus, so like I kind of like let it slide. It's kind of like the Sean Kingston song "Beautiful Girl"
Yes.
and like "Stand by Me"
Uh-huh.
by Benny
Yeah,
King.
yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you want to say like the same chord progression in Thinking Out Loud and what's the song? Let's Get It On. Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror has the same thing as well.
Mm.
But I do feel like it is a bit different when it comes to playing music. Unless you like completely rip it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you rip off like the melody. But I mean, Thinking Out Loud, the melody is different enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's Let's Get It On from Men in the Mirror. So I think it's a bit different. But that's why I'm asking you that question, because it does happen in music quite a bit. I mean, like Coldplay has gotten sued before.
Yeah.
But I don't think. I think for I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I
Yeah,
think for photography, there's a more defined line between your own shit and something that you steal. Like I
Right.
don't think you can actually take somebody else's photograph and say that you changed just enough to make it your own. It's like if you wanted to fucking have the same exact location, just take the photo yourself.
Yep.
That's true. That's
You
true.
know?
Yeah, it is a lot more
Yeah.
defined, like when
Yeah.
it is
Yeah,
considered.
because I mean,
stealing.
there's only one person who's going to take the photo.
Yep.
Yeah,
So at the end of the day, you know, that photo only belongs to that one person.
Mhm.
yeah,
So if you think about it, you know, there's no other, like, it's just very clear cut in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
So yeah.
And with that being said, we are kind of out of time.
Okay.
Oh, are we running out?
Yeah, we are.
Oh no!
We are.
Oh my god, we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
are.
yeah,
Yeah,
come
we're just
on.
barely scratching
Yeah.
the surface again. I think.
We need to do longer
Yeah, we
podcasts.
need
Yeah,
to
I think we need to do
like
longer podcasts as
a
well.
couple of
I
hours.
mean, you can let us know if you want like
Yeah.
45-minute podcast.
I mean,
if you want longer.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they'll appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
it's kind of like.
Yeah, because like we're not even done. We're not even.
I mean, like
done.
when you're
Done,
getting
dude.
getting to the good stuff, then
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
when.
Yeah, man, we
it
just
comes
brought
to-
out some
yeah.
gossip, some
Yeah.
juicy gossip,
Talking
man.
shit, right?
We only started getting the meaty
Oh,
parts of
no.
this fucking thing, dude.
I'm gonna be a big fan of this podcast. I mean, I love hearing people talk while I'm editing, so I think I'll be a big
yeah.
fan of this. Yeah.
You know what? It's the same for me when I'm practicing at home. I just have like some podcast going on in
Yeah.
the background,
Yeah,
and I'm
just
just practicing.
running on it.
Yeah.
Then you just pick it up, like, you know, from
Yeah,
time to time, right?
it's just like white noise. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
helps you
yeah.
think a bit better. I
And
feel.
then you hear something that really interests you, and you just
And
fucking.
then just like,
yeah,
oh,
there you go.
alright,
Yeah.
yeah.
But thanks so
But,
much for
yeah.
having me. Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, yeah,
thanks
yeah.
for coming, man.
I'm
Actually,
really,
thanks for coming. What am I saying? You stay here.
Yeah, you live here.
So
You
yeah,
live
thanks
here.
for coming. Yeah.
Thanks for having us over.
No,
so
I mean,
that we can talk to you.
yeah, we're really glad to have you guys as well. You know, it's a worthwhile enterprise to
Yeah.
to try to talk about things, you know, in a more casual way. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we tapped on a
Yeah.
lot of cool stuff as well.
Yeah,
we
I
did,
think it's
yeah.
cool also that that you can tell your story, let people know that you know, not all Singaporeans are like the basic, like they work
Yeah.
in an office,
Yeah,
they go to
yeah,
their job
yeah,
9 to 5, and then they come home and then like
It's a little bit
you know,
different that way.
It is
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah,
very
it is
different.
in the age of.
And you know what I
people,
want to do? What I want to do is actually I want to try and get some people who actually work 9 to 5 as
Yeah.
well
Mhm.
to
Same.
show that fucking people who work 9 to 5 jobs are not actually drones.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They're not
that's
fucking
that's
drones.
cool
They
as
have
well.
their own
They
Yeah.
fucking
all
lives as well, man.
Everybody has cool
Yeah.
hobbies. And
Yeah,
all
I'm pretty
that,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I know a guy who he works in a bank, but you know, he plays gigs on the side, things like that. You know,
There you
he's
go. There you
a
go.
guitarist and
There's
stuff
fucking
like that. So
interesting
I mean,
people out
that's
there.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
to
for
me.
exactly,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to hear more about like how people live their lives and spend their free time.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah.
That's the main reason for this
Yeah,
whole
for sure.
this whole homebrew setup.
Homebrew
Look at
is
how low budget
correct.
this shit is.
Homebrew is correct.
We got drinks and then we go up. If I stand up, like my head is over it.
That's why we're sitting here.
Yeah, that's why we're sitting down,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, again, Donn, thanks for coming on.
for coming
We
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it, man.
I'm really glad to be here.
Oh, by the way, Instagram. Give your Instagram a shout out, man.
Okay, so my Instagram is DONNTZY. Yeah.
And you got
That's
some
it.
cool photos. In there.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to give the
it's-
website of where you work as well? So that
yeah, so
you know?
I'm a wedding photographer at Tiny Dot Photography.
Yeah.
So so Tiny Dot is just like it's 4 of us, 4 photographers, and it's really just 4 guys that just really want to make sure that you get something that you want, something that you would really appreciate for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. All right,
Excellent.
Thanks for
let's
having
end
me.
it here.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
We out.